The Stage Door Show, celebrating the independent artist. With your host, Dave Hondell.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to The Stage Door Show. Tonight, this is Dave Hondell. Tonight, I have two amazing filmmakers with me, producers and directors who have a new short film out that's winning multiple awards and many festivals out there. The film is called Enemy No More. We're excited to talk about their work and also what we can expect from them in the future, any kind of future projects that they might have. So please welcome to the show, Christopher Schultz and Julia Schklair. So, welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us.
Absolutely. And, before we get into your work, I just wanted to, start with this project, Enemy No More. I think, first of all, it's been winning many, many awards. And I know you've been traveling around with the film festival circuits. And, so Christopher, talk about that film. First of all, how it came to be and, what the audiences are saying about it.
The idea came to me, my aunt, her grandparents were in an internment camp in Northern California. And I always thought that was an interesting part of American history. And I always like history. So I started digging a little deeper into it. And I came up with a feature script. And I know it's on a very big scale. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to bring it back and bring it into a scenario where we could shoot and use it as a way to maybe shop around to get financing. But as we got deeper into it, became really just more of a personal project that Julie and I just wanted to kind of get off the ground to sort of catapult my directing career.
So, Julia, talk about the project itself. What is the storyline and what can viewers expect when they see it?
It's very poignant. It's about two people from different worlds who come together to help each other and get off the island. It's during World War II, and it's really lovely and very sweet. One is successful and one isn't.
So you have you also do costume design. I heard Julia. So talk about that and a piece like that. It's basically a period piece, that took place during World War II. So how did you research that, and how did you how were you able to design those costumes from that era?
Well, it was really interesting to figure out what the Japanese soldiers were wearing and how that would translate after the death marches that they had. And then what would somebody be in when they're not, when they're hiding out? I mean, so he would be in civilian clothes, and how they were all, how all the pieces kind of fit together. And it was really fun. It was really great.
I know, Christopher, you like history. You're a history buff, and getting into the World War II era like that, because I know my grandfather was in World War II and as well. And talk about that research that you did for that particular story, and was it I guess how did you research that, and what did you dig into, watching videos or shows or reading a lot, or how did you do that research?
I've read a lot. There are a number of books that take place that talk about the internment camp and how the Japanese were treated at the time. A lot of them that were put into these internment camps, they were American citizens. They were over here. They had nothing to do with the war, but because they looked the part, they were all gathered. So I wanted to put that into the story too, because I felt it was highly unfair treatment that they got. And I think that's an important part that we have to realize, that you can't really judge people just how they look. And so that's kind of in the story as well.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I think a lot of people, especially the younger generation, even when I was in school, I don't remember talking about that. I don't remember hearing about that, the internment camps, and not until I was an adult did I hear about those, and the just the horrible situation that they had to go through during World War II when they were American citizens. And in high school we never learned that. So I think it's an important piece of history that needs to be taught. And it's great that you put this together so people could that don't know about that can learn about it And, just, I think, implore everybody out there, my listeners, to see that project, and how, speaking of that, how can they see that film? Is it out yet, or is it something that you're going to have on streaming platforms at some point?
When the festival run is over, we'll put it up on the Cadillac Pictures website. That's the name of our company.
So Cadillac Pictures, how can people find you on that?
CadillacPictures.net.
.net, yep.
CadillacPictures.net. Okay. All right. We'll put that on our show notes as well when we put this podcast out. So I really want to get into your work now. Besides, obviously, the short films that you do, you also do some work with big productions out there, Christopher, and talk about that. I know you work with props on sets of big shows like The Rookie and some others. So did you? Have you been doing that for a long time, and is that how you got interested in making your own projects, or did you have that interest prior to that?
That went way back to when I was a kid. I did a lot of theater in high school. I actually have a music background.
Okay.
I started singing when I was 7, and then I picked up the trumpet and the violin. Actually went to school for music education. But while I was at college, I went to the University of Wisconsin, Stevens Point. I took a screenwriting class, and lo and behold, I ended up loving, I always liked reading and telling stories. So this is a different way I learned how to write a script. It's different than just putting down words. And I did really well with it. And from that point on, the cold winters of Wisconsin brought me out to California.
I'm from Minnesota, so I know what you mean.
So yeah, but then when I moved out here, I didn't know anybody in the film industry. So the first couple of years were a struggle. I ended up having to get a 9-to-5 job just to pay the bills, but I kept sending my resume out, and I finally got a bite where they were looking for PAs. And when I showed up, they were looking for an art department PA. And so I started out actually as a tool wrangler in construction because I knew tools. And
sure.
So at that point, any job I could get was a step in the right direction. And from then on, I learned more of the art department aspects of filmmaking. And I finally settled on props just because as you get older, I didn't want to lift furniture anymore. But it also allowed me to get on set and see how things are done on set. And, so I basically get to go to film school every day and get paid for it, which is a super bonus. But it allows me to watch how other directors direct, because not everybody does it the same way. It's how you communicate with the actors, it's how you set up the shots. So falling into that, I just realized that with the stories that I've been telling, I have a bunch of other scripts as well that I really wanted to maybe start directing. So I started with Solitaire, just a small picture with myself and my son. And then this one is a lot bigger. And I enjoy it. I love it. I like telling stories, and we get to use the visual media to do it.
And Julia, talk about your journey in this business, because I know everybody starts somewhere. And so where did that interest come in for you?
I actually started in the art department, and I came out here to visit my oldest brother, and they had a class in violence, and he put a prosthetic on my neck and slit my throat, and I was bleeding on the floor, and they were filming it. And now he's like, "Oh my gosh, they pay you for that." So that was kind of how I started, and wasn't till my almost graduating college where I realized that I'm not linear, and I like costumes because it's moving. It's the same thing: line, shape, form, color, elements of design, but it's a moving piece, and it worked better for the way my brain works.
Julia, just talking about that, putting together, costumes, like, and it always blows me away. I was watching, interviewed somebody from Eric Nelson from 1883, and we were talking about we extensively talked about the wardrobe department because, every little button was to scale, and everything, back then, everything was perfectly done, and it really, if it's not done correctly, it could distract from the story, I believe. And so it's so important, not only like the props, like Christopher, and but the wardrobe is so important too. Everything has to come together. And And I think for my listeners who are just getting in this industry, you have to understand that this is a team business. It's a team, to put together a masterpiece, it's got to take a whole team effort. It can't just be one department or another, or the actors or the directors or the producers. It's got to be everybody working hand in hand. So Christopher, talk about that team, team atmosphere. And as a director, you really got to make sure that people are working cohesively. So talk about the importance of that as a director.
When we started putting the crew together, what was beneficial for me is that doing this for the last 25 plus years, I would start making a mental list of people that I want to continue working with. And we got to the point where it's like, okay, we were here, and what happens is that you become a family, and you choose this family at this point. But what's so great about it is that you have to respect everybody else's craft, and you have to let them do it. Sometimes I had to step back because I wanted to start micromanaging everything. But when I started to do that, I realized that I wasn't really focusing on the directing aspect of it. So it's just about putting a team of people that you trust around yourself.
Yeah.
And we had a very small crew, obviously, because we had limited budget. So at that point, you really have to put your trust and your faith in the people that you bring in to help you out.
Julia, talk about that circle of people that you have around you and the importance of that, like Christopher said, but not just on the set, but outside of the, off the set as well. Just as a producer, director, and because obviously there's a lot of people that aren't on set that have something to do with the movie, maybe a music director or music supervisor or somebody that maybe is in the post-production aspect of it, but it's not just the people on set, is it? It's a lot of people that you work with outside there too, right?
Yeah, we were very fortunate that we had a couple of people that we could call for mentors for the post-production side of it, because that's the least amount of time that we spend on a day-to-day basis, because we're prepping or shooting, and usually don't have anything to do with the post-production. But you just want to collect a group of people that have the same work ethic as you do, because that otherwise it's really difficult to be with people that need to be prompted 24/7. This wasn't a project where we wanted to spend our time prompting people of what to do next, and or wasting time because it's our money, and there isn't an excess and there is no contingency. So we were very fortunate with the group that we actually collected together. They were all our friends. They were people that we've known for a long time. Some were new, but they jumped right in and fit really well with the whole group, and it was pretty magical on a day-to-day basis, and it was really nice.
Christopher, afterwards, and I've been to several film festivals with it, but did you have anybody come up to you and say, hey, my parents or my grandparents were in internment camps, and I mean, it really kind of brought it home for me, and just how deep it was. How is that something that you experienced at all during the circuit?
Yeah, and it's real meaningful. It really proves to us that we did the right thing. We made the product the right way. The first festival that we ever went to, it was called the Damn Short Film Festival in Boulder City, Nevada. And after we screened, it was the award ceremony screening. We ended up winning the Audience Choice Award. So then they showed all the films, and afterwards, a woman comes up to me, and it was quite cute. She goes, "Look at what you made me do," and she was in tears, and it was really meaningful. And I'm like, I apologize to her for doing it, but it's like those are the moments that you cherish as a filmmaker and a storyteller, because it is impactful on somebody else's life. It does bring out emotion, either happy or sad, whatever it is. But if you can hit that to your audience, then I think you've done a successful job with your picture.
Julia, also, do you ever, when you put this all together and, you see the film for the first time, it's great to see it, put together from like the editor or whatever, but to actually see it on screen, a big screen, something that, came from, from your writings or your directing or producing. I mean, there's something that you really put together as a team, the two of you. It's got to be an emotional experience to see it come across on screen and see the reactions from the audience.
It was incredible. And, I've done this job for 30 something years, and it's always fun to see your work on television but this was a film that we did start to finish as a labor of love. And it was really magical to see it on a big screen. And I still cry every time I see it.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all.
It's really been, I'm so proud of Chris and what, his vision came to life, and we were all there for that. And it was really magical. And, everybody contributed to their part, and it was very well thought out and very well planned. And we had a lot of fun. And, I know that, sometimes it's a grind, but we didn't really have it be that way. It was really lovely.
Do you ever just sit, I mean, when you're off time, and I know it's probably very limited off time, but when you sit around watching TV and, there's probably very little that's on TV that you haven't worked on. I would imagine.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So when you sit around, I mean, are you able to watch shows as a viewer, just as a viewer, but are you always kind of looking at it from a producer director, kind of a critical eye, like, oh, they missed that one, or they did a good job on that? Do you watch TV? Because sometimes when my wife and I watch TV, me in production myself, sometimes I'll see continuity errors and I'll bring them up, and it drives her crazy.
Oh no! It drives,
So how do you guys when you guys watch TV? How do you watch
we
it?
like things that blow up and lots of explosions.
You don't have to worry about continuity there then.
And people die.
Yeah, right.
Because it's a lot of fun. Or documentaries, because it's really hard, because one little thing will take you out, and you shouldn't notice anything. And
Right.
that's, I feel, is the most successful, when you don't notice what's going on because you're so into the story. So I mean I like stunts and special effects and things that blow up, and it's just fun, and I don't really care.
Well, Christopher, I want to ask you this question, because one of the things, I've been in the music industry for a long time, and I think that music is hugely important to a film or TV, anything. But again, it can't be distracting, but it's got to add to it. So talk about the importance of music in any film that you do, and how do you go about, I guess, working with getting the right music director.
When we did Solitaire, I was introduced to this wonderful guitar player. His name is Jeff Zimmerman. He's a friend of a friend, and we've since become really good friends. And it was I saw him play before. He came to our house and did a little concert in the backyard. So I felt comfortable approaching him when we started doing this picture, and I just sat down. When I write, I use music as emotional levels for certain scenes. So when I sent him the picture and said, "Hey, can you do it in this sort of flavor?" He came back with just some brilliant stuff. Yeah, and then he took it upon himself to write a beautiful score and original song for the end of the film, which is another emotional piece. And then for Enemy No More, it was sort of the same thing. I actually asked him to do the score again, and he unfortunately couldn't do it. He was his carpal tunnel kicked in, and I was fortunate enough to talk to my DP, who had a really good friend who is a composer. And this was 2 weeks out from a deadline I wanted to do to start the festival circuit. And I called him up and I said, Greg, his name is Greg Nicolette, and he did the score for Enemy No More. And we talked about it. And again, I had this flavor, this tone, and when he decided, or when he agreed to do it, he came up with this beautiful piece, and he did it in 2 weeks. And it was bonkers. And he wasn't unhappy with it, but he goes, "This is the first one. There's more coming." And then the final product he sent us was brilliant, and he's won awards as well for his original composition. And it's so moving, and like you were saying earlier, it helps move the story along, and it helps swell emotion, bring it up and down. You could have somebody walking, and without music, he's just walking. But with the music behind it, now there's a purpose. There's a motivation.
Yeah, correct. I completely agree. I'm a huge believer in the music, and it's got to be the right music for the movie. And Julia, this Enemy No More. Are you still on the festival circuit with it? And where is it going to go next?
Yeah, we are actually at the CME Film Festival in September. Beginning of September is our next one, and there's one more.
The Breckenridge in Colorado,
Okay.
mid-September.
Yeah.
All right.
And then, we're always waiting to hear from other festivals. So
you might as well just keep it out there. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
more audiences see it. And, you grow your base that way too. And I think festivals, I'm going to ask you this, Christopher, because, years ago, 30 years ago, I had a film in a festival short, and it was very small community, kind of that atmosphere, and they've grown so exponentially over the years, as you know, and a lot of them have become commercial that weren't commercial back when. So, what are your thoughts on that? The commercial aspect of film festivals, because sometimes film festivals only take submissions from bigger, I guess, almost studios, and they become so big that the small filmmaker doesn't really have a shot at some of these festivals anymore. And, the good thing is there are a lot of smaller festivals that are kind of starting up, but what are your thoughts on that? Is it almost become too commercial? What are your thoughts on that?
I agree with you. We don't have any stars in our picture. We do have, working actors there, and they're fantastic, but they're not mainstream actors. And, I don't have a track record as a director. So I think the struggle begins right there, because these bigger festivals, they want higher end actors, directors to go to their festivals to promote their films. So people, will go there. And it's funny you say that, because when the picture first was finished, Julia's brother is a filmmaker as well, and he's been around for a while, and he's very, very picky about what he likes and what he doesn't like. And when we sent him Enemy No More, he's like, "Oh, this is going to do really well at the festivals." And I'm not going to say any names, but so the festival that I wanted to get into, right away, get not selected. Like, oh, what's going on? Why?
They only take big celebrities.
But yeah, it's one of those films that were geared toward the independent filmmaker 30 years ago, and now it's high profile. The little guy is harder to get in. So, we understand the reality of it now, so we know what film festivals we have a better shot at getting into. But then again, I'm going to submit it anyway, because you never know. If it happens, it happens.
Yeah, I think that's well said, because the reason I brought that up is because you never know, first of all, who's going to be in the audience. It could be a small festival, but if it's a lot of these directors, producers, studio people, depending on where it is, they might be in the audience, and you just never know who's going to say, "Wow, that's incredible. Who made this movie? I got to talk to these people," And I think people that are listening, you never know who's going to see it or what's going to happen because of the result of your production. And just looking at what I saw on IMDb with your production, the photos, everything about it was like, wow, I want to see it as soon as possible. this film of yours, because it looks incredible to me. And I just wish you nothing but success with that, because I know you've won many, many awards, but I can't wait for maybe something down the road, if you have even a bigger version of that. You know, I mean, it comes into a feature film or something, it would be amazing. So have you ever thought about that, to make that short film into more of a feature film, if maybe a studio finds it and you know, buys your script and wants to make it into a feature?
Yeah, the script is a work in progress right now. This derived from the feature story. This is just a little section of it, but I felt it would show the tone of the movie itself and the key players and where everything was going. So that's one of the goals. I think a lot of people do make the short film because they use it as a tool to hopefully
Proof of
get
concept
financing for a
almost. Yeah.
feature.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. You know, and Julia, you've been doing this for 30 years, and what kind of advice can you give some of our newer artists out there from all the you know, the history in the you know, in this business?
Just keep, you know, if it's something that you're really passionate about and you want to do, it's a lot harder than it used to be. So you just have to really keep calling and persevere and take any job that you can get that's going to move you forward. Because if you work hard, people will see that, and that's what they're looking for. You know?
And then Christopher, the advice from you, I just specifically, you know, with now with the streaming platforms and everybody has a phone that films in 4K, essentially, you know, some people that don't have budgets at all that want to make something or make a story. I think a lot of people don't have the ambition, I guess, to do it because they don't think it's going to go anywhere because, you know, I don't have the money or the budget. I mean, what is your, I guess, answer to that? I mean, is that something that you would say just make it, or do you think that there's got to be more to it?
No, I agree. I think if you're passionate about the story and the idea, go ahead and make it. We did Solitaire for basically. I went out and I bought a 4K camera. Nothing fantastic, but that was basically our budget because everything else, you know, we knew that we could gather on our own. And when we started making that picture, it's like, wow, this is really something better than you can imagine while you're reading it. And that's what's great about doing it yourself, as well as that you have control over everything you want to do. So if you can find a way to get it done, go ahead and do it. It might not be perfect, but at the same time, just think of what you've learned while you're making it, and then you can apply that to the next one if you have a little bit more money.
That's good. That's both advice from both of you. Great on that. Thank you. Julia, I'll start with you. I always ask everybody this question, but when it's all said and done, what do you want your legacy to be? What do you want to leave behind when people think of your name?
That I'm kind and I'm nice and I'm really talented and I had a good time.
That's great. I love that one. How about you, Christopher?
Just that I gave it my all. I continue to strive to be as successful as possible and kind as well. Because, you know, in this industry, it's emotions can run high on certain things. You know, there's a lot of people trying to get the job done in a quick amount of time. And sometimes you just have to take a step back and take a breath and just realize it is a job. It's our career, but at the same time, just walking away with knowing that you went in and did your best that you could possibly do and feel proud of what you did. I think you had a successful day.
Absolutely. Well, thank you both for that. And, you know, you're always welcome back on the show I can't wait to hear what's next from you both. And, you know, just keep in touch with us. And like I said, come back at some point. Let's hear about what you have in the future. And you know, I just wanted to thank you for your time today, for coming on and talking about your great project and some of your work. And, you know, I wish you nothing but the best in your future.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it.